What's going on, everyone? Welcome back to the Midwest Outdoors Podcast. As always, I'm your host, Jim O'Neill, and it's brought to you by Fish Daddy. That's right, FishDaddyOutdoors.com for all your fishing needs, especially your technology lead in ice fishing. That's right, LED technology that brings the fish from all over to your hole or to your line, because it can work in open water or ice fishing. That's the beautiful thing. And if you guys haven't, go over there, stock up, and use MWO10 for your discount and make fishing a little more affordable this year. Because after all, if you guys haven't seen, some of the price increases have finally taken over. Inflation and tariffs have hit hard. I walked through the Bass Pro aisles yesterday, and we're seeing about a 10 to 30% raise in most products. Biggest hit is your Japanese market. I see the Dual Realis and the Mega Bass products flying off the shelf. It's really hard to find almost any high-end color, some of the most used colors. It's hard to find them anywhere, so I recommend stocking up now because it might be hard for a while to get what you want. That being said, though, let's get back to the pod because, guys, this week we finally get to talk about a record again. Coolest thing about this record is that one of our own guests caught it. That's right, Jeff Van Remortel, one of our muskie gurus from northern Wisconsin, just caught the Wisconsin live release record. 26 inches round, it's like a basketball, by 56 inches long. As any muskie fisherman knows, the 50 incher is the holy grail, the 55 is the myth and the magic. So a fish over that at 56, truly a fish of a lifetime, and it's such a beautiful fish, awesome colors on it, looks super healthy, obviously, with that girth. But yeah, congrats to Jeff. The great thing about Jeff and our host today for our main interview, not only are they hammers on the water, but then they're almost just as good, if not better, at instructing how to do it. They don't gatekeep everything. Yes, they make a little money off what they do, and why shouldn't they? They spend so many countless hours in the boat, on the water, figuring out how to make these fish bite more and bigger fish bite. And you don't have to put in weeks or months or years to figure out some of these secrets. You can just learn from the pros. And I think doing both in life is very important. But yes, congrats again to Jeff for that beautiful record. And the live release, right? This should be somewhere for the world records, for every state, because to let those once-in-a-lifetime fish back in the water to possibly get bigger, grow longer, be caught again by another person to experience that joy, and to put that DNA back in the water. As for the tournaments, if you guys didn't check out last week's podcast, make sure you go check it out because we wrapped up the Elite Series and talked about the end of the MLF Series. They are done for the year. MLF does have some team cups going on this fall, including some here in the Midwest. They just got done in Michigan and should be in northern Wisconsin any day. However, we had two other events go on this past weekend. One being the World Black Bass Championship again, out in South Africa. That's right. So our boys took a ride to South Africa, and I'm sorry, I expect nothing but gold every single time that the best of the U.S. bass fishing goes around the world to bass fish, because we just have such a program developed here, and between the high school and the college and the pro circuits, I mean, nowhere in the world do they take fishing as serious as we do here in America. And although they weren't in first after day one, you better believe we brought home the gold. Team USA. Let's go, USA. And when you hear who made up the team, it's kind of hard to believe they wouldn't win. Scott Martin, Ott Defoe, Kyle Welcher, the Jacob Wheeler, and two of the MWO podcast guests, Logan Parks and Drew Gill. So absolute hammers. Glad to see they got it done. They're bringing home the gold. Saw the iconic pic of them biting on the gold medal. Listen, nothing gets me jazzed up like that, because I don't know if it's brings you back to the Olympics or being a Patriot, but USA and gold. It just goes together, and I love it. And the fact that you can do that in fishing, extra special. The Shore World Fishing Championships is in the U.S. this fall, coming up in a few weeks in Green Bay, Wisconsin, where anglers will fish for all sorts of things like bass, walleye, carp, catfish. You'll see it all unfold. And I just found out that there was a shore circuit or world competition for fishing. So that's going to be something we're going to look into, possibly be a part of in the future. I think it'd be really cool. But speaking of Green Bay, that is also where the last walleye event happened of the year, pro walleye event. And hey, it was the championship. And for the second time in a row, back B2B, Tom Hyunh takes the win. That's right. Hyunh wins. And he is this week's guest, and we can't wait to have him. So make sure you sit down, you get comfortable, get your snacks, get your water, because he's going to tell us so much on how he went from doing nails to being a back-to-back world fishing champion, and how he went from hardly fishing, at least not on a boat in tournaments, to a double-time world champion within 10 years. Maybe even less, some would say. But he's going to talk about all that with us, and I can't wait. But wanted to wrap up a little bit of the news before we go there, because it's some things you guys want to know. Some early season waterfowl is going on right now. We have Dove is open right now, and it is time to be prepping. If not, you're already late in some places, but you should be prepping for your deer season, getting your blinds ready for your duck and geese. The hunting realm is starting to develop and move right now. I know in certain states people are already hunting all over. So some cool things coming there that we look forward to talking about, but we'll save that until after the fishing season gets a little slower. Speaking of the fishing season, we have a paddlefish season opening October 1st on the Missouri River. And that is snagging. So if you always wanted that caviar, if you always wanted a spoonbill skeleton, now is your time. They are an unbelievable fish and truly magnificent when you think about how they're almost prehistoric. So very cool there. And last thing, I just wanted to shoot out there to any of our outdoor enthusiasts or people that are looking for a job or want to make a difference in our waterways, our forests, our wilderness. The Arkansas Game and Fish is doing a mass hiring till the end of the month for fish and game and for DNR officers. So go put your application in there, guys, if you're looking for a job that might mean a little more and do a little more for our world. We're going to throw it to a quick commercial break, guys. Make sure you get right back here to talk to the two-time national champ, Mr. Tom Hyunh.
Midwest Outdoors Magazine helps you enjoy the outdoors, giving you the best information on where to go, what to use, and how to use it. With fishing maps marked by the pros, nature notes, in-depth interviews, and much, much more. Your subscription gets you 10 big issues of the best in fishing, hunting, and the great outdoors. Plus, Midwest Outdoors Digital Edition gives you dozens of extra articles. Sign up now at mwomag.com. That's mwomag.com.
Everyone, with no more further ado, we have the champ, back-to-back, two-timer, however you want to put it. Tom,
Yeah.
Tom, thanks for joining me, buddy.
Yeah, it's awesome, man. Thanks for having me on.
Absolutely, absolutely. And it is awesome. Two guys just talking about what we love and blessed to get paid to do what we do, right?
Yeah. No, you can't nothing to complain about there. It's been a crazy, awesome few years and really amazing last week. So
And we'll start it with there. I know it's
Yeah.
easy to just talk all about the event, but because it's the first time we've had you on, I've wanted to have you on for a little bit. I want to talk about the whole process from, day one to now. So let's recap last weekend really quick because I'm sure a few people are watching this having no idea what we're talking about.
Yeah.
Um, I'll give you the honors.
All right. So yeah, last week was our prep for the National Walleye Tour Championship, and the National Walleye Tour consists of 4 regular season events, and then the top 40 in angler of the year points gets an invite to the championship, which was out on Green Bay, and so we go out there, and I'm pre-fishing for like 5 or 6 days prior. Green Bay is a big body of water.
That it is.
As you know, a bunch of big smallies out there, but in turn, big walleyes because of the bait in that system. A bunch of gobies, full of alewives part of the season. But getting out there, we knew that the forecast looked like the weekend during the tournament days were going to be really windy, and we knew that there was really good potential of having one day canceled. So I fished it, and in those 5, 6 days of pre-fish, I just settled in on one area. Now, this area was big, the
Mhm.
islands area of Green Bay, but I didn't. I just focused there, and considering the wind direction, wind speed, and how that water temp was likely to change, I knew that that area was going to be the most consistent. So I just focused there, and my pre-fish wasn't. I mean, it was good, but it wasn't the greatest. Like 2 days of pre-fish, I caught 1 fish each day. A couple days, I think I caught 6. One day, I think I caught 8. So it's not like it was hot and heavy, but like I told people, if I'm going to catch a limit in this tournament, it's going to be a big one. And thankfully, day one of that tournament, just put my head down and ground out an area, and had a had some big fish. Had 43 pounds. So
Yeah, that's quite a limit there, 43 pounds.
yeah,
Um, And yeah, Green Bay for a second, it is it is an incredible fishery, not only what you can catch out there, I wouldn't be shocked if you stumbled upon a trout or a bass or a muskie while you
hmm
were out there
hmm
practicing.
hmm
Um, but it also just can be so tough due to, I mean, it's a mini Great Lake like St.
yeah,
Clair,
yeah,
things can get rocking out there pretty
yeah.
quick.
Yeah, and it did too. Like, we had a gale warning on, let's see, Thursday night into Friday morning, and on day one, it wasn't nice. That Thursday, I mean, we had 3, 4 footers out there, and but then on day two, our tournament was canceled. So not just the high winds doesn't make for difficult boat control and getting from point A to point B, but on the Great Lakes, that wind over a sustained amount of time and at that speed pushes cold water. It moves water temps around big time, and um, so day one caught that 43 pounds on that one section. Day two was canceled. Day three, go out there the final day. I go to that spot that I never left on day one, made a pass through it, and I was filming. I was actually streaming live on day three, and you can see where I just dropped down with high hopes, but I dropped down and my heart just sank. Like there was zero bait, zero fish, zero junk fish, no sign of life. And I'm like, uh-oh. But I noticed the water temp had dipped already almost 8 degrees. It had cooled down significantly. So that I knew that was the reason. So instead of like just trying to grind that area, trying to will a fish to show up there, I went to the second spot, same exact thing. So I'm like, that was my only 2 spots I had. And then, so I was like, okay, I just got to get on the big motor. And I started traveling towards the direction the wind's been blowing for a few days there. And all of a sudden, after a couple miles, I noticed that my temperature went up almost 5 degrees
Hmm.
really quickly in a very short stretch. And I'm like, okay, let's just stop here. And this is an area I never pre-fished before, but I just put the trolling motor down and start panning around with my live scope. And I'm like, all right, there's some bait fish. There's some bait fish. There's some suckers down here on the rocks. And then I start seeing some walleyes. I'm like, all right. So then I just found the fish, caught my first one. It was about a 4 pounder, And this is already a few hours into the day.
Right.
And so I'm getting a little nervous. And it's a no call tournament.
Mhm.
We can only put 6 in the live well, right?
So let's
And so
use it. Yeah.
so once that fish goes in the live well, we can't take it out.
Right.
It's part of your bag. So then I caught that 4 pounder and I'm like, the camera guy's in the boat too from the National Walleye Tour, and I'm holding this fish for like a minute,
Yeah.
thinking, am I going to put it in? I didn't, thankfully, but proceeded to scan around, stay on the edge of that cold water
Mhm.
break, and I was able to put 3 in the boat within the next like hour and a half, 2 hours, and then the camera guy got out of the boat to go to somebody else's boat, and then shortly after that, I figured out that what those fish were relating to, and proceeded to catch 3 really quickly. That finished out our 6 fish total limit, and I was back at the dock by 12:45. So it went from like being super stressful, thinking that I'm probably going to zero, to just telling myself, hey, you teach people, like I'm telling myself, you teach people when the water temps get like this, you can't fish that water, you need to
Right.
move.
Yeah.
I was trying to convince myself to take my own advice, and I did, thankfully. And I ended up going and catching a little over 38 pounds to maintain that lead. I mean, Isaac Lockage went out there and he caught 43 that second day. It was a close one, too close for. I love close tournaments because it's exciting, but not when I'm up there.
Yeah, there's something to be said about that though. And you go back to truly the fundamentals of fishing that I try to tell people. One, follow your gut. I can't tell
Mhm,
you how many times I've heard pro anglers talk about that, you know.
mhm.
Um, and number two is there's nothing, whether you teach it or not, you do. And shout out to your service there. If anyone wants to check it out, you learn this is one of our forward-facing sonar gurus in the country. So not only that, but just fishing applications in general.
Mhm.
So yeah, guys, check out his site, and we'll talk about that at the end of this conversation. But time on the water can't be matched. And
Mhm.
I try to tell people that all the time. I have personally more of my friends are average weekend anglers, than your tournament used to be tournament guys, but now hanging out with more
Mhm.
fun fishermen. And it's so much hit or miss for them because they don't
Yep.
spend a lot of time on the water and they don't get to see those fish in transitions. They don't get to see the turnovers of the bodies of water.
Mhm.
And if you miss a couple days, especially when we're talking about large weather changes, you're missing a lot that's going on
Yep.
underneath the water.
Yeah, you're right. It doesn't take long at all. It could be within a day. It could be within hours of, like, you can go out there on the Great Lakes in the morning, you can see a bunch of fish, catch some fish. By that afternoon, that your area could be completely iced out. It could be like 4 or 5 degrees colder when those Great Lake currents move through. And that's the biggest word of advice I have for anybody watching this. When you're fishing those Great Lakes for walleyes or smallies or whatever you're doing, like, trust your electronics, trust your those water temps. Like, if you have a big drop, just go find the warm water. It's still
Yeah.
there.
Yeah.
You gotta go find it. It's not, the whole lake's not going to cool off that fast, but those warm water pockets get moved around, and it's around there somewhere. And thankfully I ran into it, but it's just something to keep in mind because you'll be way more efficient.
Yeah. Something to pick your brain on that before we move on from the topic of warm and cold water. In
Yep.
bass fishing, this is just science, the dirty water will heat up faster, right? Because it's
Hmm.
got more particles, the sun gets to hit it,
Yep.
retains the heat. Um,
Yes.
a lot of times, bass fishing, especially for the green bass, you find those fish in the fall, in the spring, in those cooler temps, in the dirtier, warmer water, where sometimes a smallmouth, it's hit or miss. Sometimes they like the
Mhm.
really clean water, even if it's a little colder. What do you see with walleye? Does it change all the time? Is there kind of a format there? Or?
Walleye, so whenever I first started fishing walleye, it hasn't even been that long ago,
I
4 or 5 years
We'll
ago.
get there. We'll get there.
Yeah, I was trying to retain as much knowledge as I can about walleye, and I was listening to a podcast with Corey Springle in it one, from years ago, and he explained, there's a lot of misconception about walleyes. People think they're cold water fish,
Mhm.
and he said they are not. The walleyes are a warm water fish. They'll follow that warm water around. And I was one of those people who just assumed, for whatever reason, walleyes like those cool, just cooler water, things like that.
Mhm.
So, I find that still to this, like, doesn't matter if the surrounding water temps are 70 for the most part. If you have some 71, 72-degree water somewhere close by, those fish are going to be in there. It helps their metabolism's higher. But when you're talking smallies or walleyes, one thing that holds true, one thing that the biggest factor is the what relates to that warm water the most, or gets affected by warm or cool water, is the bait. So if those water temps are affecting the bait and that bait's moving, those fish are going to be moving pretty much along with that bait. So it's just something to watch out too. So if you, like I said, the first area I stopped, it was void of any life. Like,
Yeah.
I've never seen an area so dead, whereas 2 days ago I caught 43 pounds there.
Yeah, right.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And so that's how I knew. I'm like, dude, go. You can't stay here. You just need to go somewhere else. And I'm just glad I had the courage to go do it.
Yeah, it's I think that's one of the hardest things as an angler, because in one word I say you need to take everything you learn, right, from each
Hmm.
day you're on the water. That's how you get better. But in the same sense, again, especially to people who aren't fishing all the time, they could have a body of water or even a certain spot on a body of water that they've done historically good at, and they go there and they don't want to give it up because they're like,
Yeah.
we'll catch them. We'll catch
Yep.
them. We've caught them here in the
Yep.
past. And I just see
Yep.
that so often, and it grinds the gears a little bit because I was doing it when I was younger too, of
Hmm.
course. But hey, fish are so complex but so simple.
Yeah.
It's
Yep.
like they don't have a brain like ours. They think of food and when it's time, sex, and
Hmm.
there's really little in between.
Yeah. It's just comfort.
Yeah.
Whatever. That's just, they want to be comfortable. And you just got to find out what makes them comfortable. And food and water temperature is very key throughout the season. And what you said though about fishing history, like, so fishing history, before forward facing sonar, it's kind of a no-no,
Yeah.
because like you said, but now with forward facing sonar, technically on the last day of the tournament, you could say I was fishing history from 2 days ago,
Sure.
right? But now when I go through there and look, nothing's there. Before forward facing sonar, I could have potentially been sitting there
Waste a
casting,
bunch of time.
casting,
Yeah,
casting,
absolutely.
casting.
Absolutely.
And so now it's like, but here's the thing. I know plenty of guys who fish the circuits I do that would have still stayed there. You know what I mean?
Good.
Like, and
Good.
that would have been me a couple years ago. And but you have to trust your electronics. I mean, if you can cast out and you see your jig, your
You don't see no
electronics are
fish. There
working.
ain't no fish.
so move on.
Yeah, I mean, we won't. Today is not the day we're getting into the debate about forward-facing sonar, but
There's no debate.
it doesn't matter how you use it. I've been in boats with multiple people who use it very differently, you
Yep.
know.
Hmm.
And one thing is true. At least I believe this. Your time, my time, everyone's time, it's valuable. Everyone's
Hmm.
time is valuable. And to those who don't get to do this as a career, um, fishing is a lot of people's escape. It's their therapy,
Yep.
And I tell people this. How many days you come in frustrated or just worn out because you just didn't get it done or you wish it was better, or you spent a lot of money on a trip? It's like, hey, if you spend your free time, you spend your money on fishing and you have a boat, It's
Hmm.
kind of insane, in my opinion, not to have one form of the forward facings.
Yeah.
Because even if you don't want to sharpshoot fish all day, you can just put it down, like you said, and see if there's bait or see the temperatures or see the thermocline or just try to figure out something. It's just
Yeah,
education.
I agree. 100%. I agree. If you have a boat and, you know, I think a big thing is the intimidation factor of learning a new technology.
Yeah.
And I'm here to tell any of you watching this or listening, you can learn it. I don't care. I have so much firsthand experience after the first year here with my education that I'm seeing so many people of all ages learning this, and they're learning it extremely effectively. And I'm competing, like when you look at our top 10 of Angler of the Year in the National Walleye Tour, or if you go into the Bassmaster side, the
Yeah.
top 10, you're young guys, live scopers. They're in their 20s.
No
I'm
doubt.
competing against
No
them on the
doubt.
National Walleye Tour. The Bassmaster guys are in the 20s that are effective with live scope. I'm 45 years old, and I'm out here, like, I feel that I was put in this position for some sort of reason. Like, I I still think, like, I have a big following of guys who are 65, 75, 80 years old because I'm not one of the kids,
Yeah.
and I'm teaching these older gentlemen how, and women, how to use this technology better than these young kids. And then these young kids who I compete against, I think it's nice that I'm in this position too, because they're like, hey, look at this old guy still whooping our butts. So everybody still is right there to learn. I'm learning from them. I'm learning
Yeah.
from all aspects of this. And in turn, I'm giving it right back. But don't be intimidated. Like, don't be bashing in a technology until you truly tried it, and let me teach you how to use it. Like, I'm down. I want to teach you. So
Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah, and that brings me to kind of one of my main topics I wanted to talk to you about. And in every way, I hope there's zero disrespect taken. But I started fishing tournaments, what it looks like, long before you.
Yep.
And I've definitely you got a little age on me, not much, but a
Yeah.
little bit.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah,
Um,
fine.
and growing up in Chicago, I knew a T dot win, but it was a Todd, not a
Todd.
Tom.
Yeah.
And all of a sudden, a couple of years ago, a lot thanks to Midwest Outdoors starting to focus more on walleye and multi-species, not just bass. All of a sudden, your name's everywhere. So
Hmm.
before we get on a podcast, I got to do a little digging, and
Yep.
I look up where your career starts and stuff. And brother, we're right there on our bass success. It wasn't the greatest,
Yeah.
for either one of us.
Yeah.
Um, and I'm just curious personally, how it all started. And, I've had rumors that you got into fishing when forward facing sonar came out, but it looks like some of it may have been really early or right before. So, how did that timing go? And kind of when and why did you determine to go from the bass focus to the walleye?
So I owe all of it to COVID. Those COVID years were terrible. My day job, I have, for those of you who don't know this either, my day job is fingernails. Like, I have fingernail salons, yeah.
Yeah.
And so I've been doing that since I've been 19 years old. So it's been a while. But my salons were shut down for like 7 weeks. I didn't jump into a boat, but the first time I ever set foot into a boat, I was already in my mid 30s. And that first boat I ever set foot into was the boat I had just bought. So I didn't have any friends who fished. I didn't know anybody who fished. My entire life revolved around the fingernail salons. Like, I didn't do anything else. And so I always wanted to fish as a little kid. Grew up on the farm ponds down in Arkansas. My grandpa would take me out to fish off the pond banks, and somehow I developed a passion for fishing just by doing that.
Yeah.
So whenever I put in all those years, like 16, 17 years in the nail salon at that time, I'm like, you know what? I got to do something for myself. Like, so I went and bought this aluminum tracker boat at the time, and learned everything just on the fly. Even launching the boat, I didn't know anybody to help
Yep.
me.
Yep.
Backing the trailer down was a chore the first time. And so anyway, I fished for a couple years, just around the area, and that was just bass fishing. I
Yep.
had some Lowrance electronics on at the time, just the basic stuff. Never even looked at my 2D. I just went fishing weeds, you know.
Yep. Yep. Me
So
too.
then I was like, I want to fish like a jump in a tournament, and
Mhm.
so I reached out to some of the local clubs here
Mhm.
in Minnesota, and nobody ever got back to me. Nobody got back to me, so I'm like, well, I want to fish a tournament. So just on a whim, I
Gatekeepers.
huh?
They're gatekeeping from Tom.
Yeah, yeah. And so I on a whim, I decided like I'm just gonna jump into a Bassmaster Open on my very first tournament ever,
Just a
ever.
big old Bassmaster.
Just an open, no big deal.
Yeah.
So I upgraded my boat for this situation too to a fiberglass bass boat, and so I fished that tournament. It was down in Ridgeland, Mississippi, on the Ross Barnett Reservoir,
Yep.
and I just got obliterated. It's my first tournament, but I learned so much. I caught it like a 7 pound largemouth, so that
Nice.
was a bonus.
That's fun.
But
Yeah.
yeah, I never got a limit in either day, but whatever. It was a big learning experience. And then a couple years later, after that, I just fished some random opens here and there, cashed a
Mhm.
couple checks, but nothing crazy.
Yeah.
And then I decided I'm going to upgrade my boat again. I had a buddy who wanted to buy my current one, so I was like, all right, let's do that, and I'll get a new one. Now, this new boat this was in 2019 or so, and I got it, and one of my friends that I met in the opens who fishes co-angler, he's from New York. His name's Tom as well. He's a pharmacist out there, a legal one. And he
Legal.
yeah, he said, dude, you got to get the new Garmin stuff. And I was like, dude, I don't care. I don't use my electronics anyway. He
Yeah.
goes, they got this new Panoptics. You need to, try it. So I did. I did it, and that was in 2019. And then, as we know, those
COVID.
the COVID times and stuff like that. So it was stressful because I just got this new boat. My salons were
Money.
shut down. I still
Money.
had to pay rent for the shops. And so I took that boat and just started spending some time on the water, like just and down home near Arkansas, Tennessee, and some up here. But I just started dialing it in, and I was enthralled with it immediately. As soon as it was mounted to my trolling motor. Why was it mounted to my trolling motor? I don't know.
That's how everyone did it.
Yeah, but that's the thing that hardly anybody was using it.
Right. That's fair. Yeah.
Looking back now, like you had your Scott Martins and Jason Christie's who were sponsored by Garmin and stuff that were talking about it. But looking back now, they weren't even using it at that time. It was just something that they were marketing, but they weren't really effectively using it. And so all that time on the water and just me as a detail oriented person, I guess, I was casting at everything. And I started catching largemouth in Tennessee in places that I didn't know they existed. But I didn't know anybody in the fishing industry, not a single person. So
Yep.
I was just under the assumption that all these pros have it. They're already really good at it. So, and I'm nobody special, right? So I didn't enter any tournaments that year because of COVID and my businesses at home. Um, and then in 2020, up at Leech Lake, just met my good buddy Nate Wolski,
Okay.
and we just met him. And within a week, we heard there was a tournament coming to Leech Lake, and it happened to be on the AIM Pro Walleye Series. And
Okay.
at first, I'm like, it's a walleye tournament. I've barely even caught a walleye in my life. Why would I do that? But for something to do, him and I agreed to fish it out of my bass boat. And here's the crazy thing: the tournaments on Leech Lake through the AIM circuit, through Leech Lake and Mille Lacs, once they go live to register in the winter, in 24 hours they're sold out with
Wow.
100 boats, right?
Wow.
And I had no clue, didn't know. So I
Yep.
called the tournament director and I said, "Hey, I want to get in this tournament coming up next week." And he's like, "Oh, do you know so and so?" And I'm like, "No, I don't know anybody." He goes, "Well, it's weird because like 3 minutes ago they called and backed out because of COVID, so we have a spot available." And I'm like, "I'll take it." And so, long story short, that first walleye tournament ever, utilizing life scope on a brand new pattern that Nate and I just figured out. We won that tournament with almost 40 pounds,
Wow.
the very first one. So then it gets in our head like,
We can
should we
do
try another one? We tried another one. We got fourth place. And that was it for the AIM circuit that year. We didn't qualify for anything because we missed the first two events that year.
Sure.
So we jumped in a bigger circuit at the end of that season, same season, the Masters Walleye Circuit, bigger names, bigger boats, everything. And it was a 2-day live weight tournament, and we ended up winning that and setting the lake record that first year. And instantly, right off the stage, I was whisked away for a polygraph because people were
I
like,
believe that.
"Oh,
I believe
yeah,
that. Yep.
yeah." And so after that day, I told that gentleman that gave me the polygraph, I'm like, I'm down to do one of these all the time. I hope I
Every
see you
single
many
time.
more times in the future.
Yeah.
So, but that's how I got started. Like, just things fell into order the way they were supposed to fall into place for some sort of reason. And I'm starting to believe that, like, um, but I did put in the work. I was out there on the water dialing this in. I was a big nerd when it came to like figuring out, okay, here's a bunch of fish. There has to be a way to dictate species. And I figured that out. I'm able to tell a walleye from a sheep's head, from a bass now. And in turn, I'm teaching that. But that's where I got started. And I think that that's what put me right away on a level, because literally in 2019, 2020, I don't think anybody was using their forward-facing sonar as efficiently and effectively as as I was at the time. The
Sure.
reason I say that is because now when I watch the Bassmaster Elite Series for the last couple of years, these guys are good, but they're doing things that I was doing back in 2019, 2020, that sometimes I think now I'm like, do I make that transition? I didn't do good in the bass world, but I didn't have forward facing sonar, right? So do I go try that? It's pulling at me. Trust me, it's pulling at me. But that it's just been crazy. Like I think that and then just trying to figure out like how to people somebody told me early on too, you can't make a living in fishing anymore. It's not, which it's true. It's hard.
It's hard.
It's hard to
It's
do.
hard. You
It's
can,
not
but you got to be in
easy.
the top 1%.
Exactly 1% of people are
Yeah.
probably making a decent living in the fishing industry, and the rest of them just have wrap boats and fancy jerseys, and they're getting a discount. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And I was not disgruntled. I was disheartened when I heard that a few years ago. So that's what I accepted that challenge, and I said, okay, I can figure this out. And my first mindset was let's entertain these people with fish catches. And I'm like, that's not where it is. It's pure education, because I could see the eagerness, the hunger that people had when I would do well in a tournament.
To
How many
know
people would
how.
reach out? Yes. How
Mhm.
did you do this?
Yeah.
What were you doing? And what's funny is I would tell people exactly what I was doing, but the pure simplicity of what I was doing made it where a lot of these people didn't believe what I was saying anyway.
Too good to be true.
Right?
Yeah. Yeah.
Yep. So then I learned that there's been so much deception or misconceptions or lies,
Yes.
yes, in the walleye industry, that that I had to just keep going down this path and literally teaching everything. And then people ask me, like, even before the university, people would be like, "Are you afraid you're teaching too much on social media, giving away too many secrets? Are people going to start catching up with us or you or whatever?" And I'm like, maybe, but that's going to push me to learn more. I'm going to want to learn. I'm still going to want to win every tournament I fish. So that's it. It's just going to propel the sport. Soon, I think we're going to see we've seen a lull in the tackle industries because of
Yeah.
forward facing sonar,
Yep.
but I'm predicting here in the next year or two, you're going to see a surge like we've never seen before, because we are learning forward facing sonar so well right now that what we're able to do that we've never been able to do in the past is watch these fish in real time. We've never done that. We've never had that capability unless they're in a tank, right? So now we can see their reactions, and now we're going to be able to build baits, make baits, artificial tackle that we know these fish want based on just us thinking, hey, this looks good. I would buy this, but the fish could care less about eating it.
Sure.
So
Sure.
I'm excited to be you know, and that I think that's coming. It's going to be fun.
Well, so much of the fishing industry in the last decade, and granted, this has gone for all things that are sold to the public. It's caught our eye and not the fish's eye.
Yeah.
It's
Yep.
it's made to sell to the fishermen.
Yep.
But before we leave that topic, two questions. One, has anyone started catching walleye on fuzzy dice yet? Has that happened yet?
And not that I've heard of firsthand, but
Okay.
I might take that challenge here next week. And
Come on, give me a video, the Jim Audio challenge.
yeah, yeah.
Um,
I caught some walleyes though. Um, this is the first time I've ever said it on a podcast, actually. But in that first year that we did so well in the AIM championship, caught
yeah,
him on that G crack bellows, ugly looking like guild
I
thing.
love that bait.
Yes. Yep. It's
I
a
mean,
little.
realistically, the way it moves and the profile of it is so bluegill crappie-esque. It's unreal. There's very little things in the market that look so real like that.
Yeah, and under the water, it's just like the
The air
body of it just
bubbles and stuff.
repulsive. Yeah,
Yeah.
but yeah, so I don't see why a guy couldn't throw those fuzzy dice down there. I'm gonna
No,
give it a whirl.
I agree. I mean, one thing that makes sense completely, and I'm sure guys on tour are doing it. I'm sure you've caught some. Brett over at Target Walleye has really just talked about it the most, but like the Ned rig,
Oh yeah. Oh, 100%.
unreal.
Yeah, if you go back, you probably find some articles from 2020 where Nate and I, we did well on AIM, so we had a lot of interviews. You see us talking about before Northland came up, I was involved with Northland and the Nedster and all that.
Good.
I was talking about, just using Ned heads for hovering over walleyes, at the time. So yeah, it's a big crossover. Walleye and bass aren't that different.
No, no, they're really not. And I mean, how many accidental catches in your life have you had?
100%. Yep.
So let's go to the schooling for a minute because that's what you said. People want the education, right? And we can talk hero stories forever. And I'd love to, we'll talk more off camera at some point. But before they hit the paywall, all right, because we're gonna send people over. We want to get people signed up.
Yeah.
And take a minute or two on each one. Um, what are the three biggest takeaways that you're okay with sharing to everyone right now that you've learned and that has improved your fishing with using the technology?
The fact that walleyes like us me using forward facing sonar, um, walleyes are way different than what we were led to believe through magazine articles, through things like that before.
Sure.
I would say almost a 180 degree, maybe not quite 180, but like where we're finding these walleyes now. I'm not talking just structure, but I'm talking water column related. How they feed, whether it's up or down, things like that. Like that's one of the biggest things I'm learning is walleye behavior and where these walleyes are. That's how I did so well in these tournaments, is going to areas that people never look for walleyes
Walleye.
and catching big ones.
Yep.
And so that's one big thing. Number two is studying baits. So I like throwing, sponsored by Northland.
Yep.
Awesome, awesome company. But I like throwing a bunch of different reactionary style baits now. Like people know me too. Before this year, I've never really thrown a reactionary bait. It was all finesse, finesse, finesse. This year though, just for something different, I'm studying how these fish react to baits of different brands, different companies, to see what they want and more importantly, don't want. So I'm forward facing sonar is a huge deal to learn that too. Number three, probably the most important thing is forward facing sonar. It's getting more kids on the water and they're wanting to stay on the water.
Yep.
And from my firsthand experience, people are keeping less walleyes than they did before.
Sure.
And people are concerned it's going to take away from our fisheries and stuff like that. But look, before I go to these resorts or stay camp at these resorts, there was the guys that would bring in, they'd go trolling at night, or they would pull indie rigs, and they'd have a really good day, bring
Yeah.
in like a 3 or 4 people limit. They would keep them all, put them in the freezers, because they didn't know when the next good day they were going to have.
Sure.
Now with forward facing sonar, they're going out with more confidence. They're
Yep.
catching the fish they want to use that day,
Yep.
and that's it. They're not stockpiling them. So that's my biggest 3 takeaways from forward facing sonar: the fact that we're getting more people fishing. You're seeing a little bit of a rise in kids wanting to spend more time. Like, I'm part of Future Anglers in Minnesota. They just think just watching that's cool. I don't ice fish, but I'm getting a lot of people sending me pictures of their
It's,
kids loving watching that screen.
yep.
And so we're getting kids outside, even though they're still looking at a screen. They're looking at a screen outside versus staring at their phones on the inside.
I,
So I love it.
I can't say it enough. I will die on the hill that I believe social media might be the end of humanity at some point.
Mm-hmm.
But it's there, and I, and our group is not going to change that.
Mm-hmm.
So truly my purpose, we got self-fulfillment right away when I got to work in the fishing industry. That was crossed off. And then it became so much less about me and so much more about everyone else.
Mm-hmm.
And I truly believe that. I say, you know what? Whether it doesn't matter what do you think of TikTok, YouTube, Instagram, with all the evil, with all the mess
Mm-hmm.
that's on there, if I can put a beautiful sunrise on there, if I can show the smiles of 2 kids catching their
Yep.
first fish, I mean, how can you be mad at that, right?
Yeah. Yeah. No. And yeah, just exactly. Yeah, and to your point, exactly. Just very recent with the news and stuff. Like yesterday, I was like, I had some like funny posts to put, and I'm like,
Yeah.
is this the day to do it? And I did it. And like you said, it just brings, like, the comments I had were like, this is what we needed. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But it's not just on sad days either. Like,
No,
it's, you know,
you need it all the time.
yeah, and fishing is positive. Like, if we
Yep.
can teach people to fish and get more people, the world will be so much better. Like, it just, and that's kind of part of my
I
goal. Like I
agree.
said, I'm not a young guy anymore, but like I have some years that I'm going to try to propel this industry like it's never been propelled before, and I'm hoping some of these younger guys can step in and just take over and, you know,
Absolutely.
take it. And let catching bass is going to be one heck of a feat, but considering talking to like Gary Parsons and some of these guys have been around for a long time, walleye and bass used to be on equal footing.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Marketing wise, and everything, they used to be on equal footing. Can it happen again?
Maybe.
It'd be a tough one, but hey, why not? Why not give it a whirl?
We're going to make a quick commercial break, but come on back to hear the end of this conversation because we got 1 or 2 more pieces you're going to want to hear.
Midwest Outdoors Magazine helps you enjoy the outdoors, giving you the best information on where to go, what to use, and how to use it. With fishing maps marked by the pros, nature notes, in-depth interviews, and much, much more. Your subscription gets you 10 big issues of the best in fishing, hunting, and the great outdoors. Plus, Midwest Outdoors Digital Edition gives you dozens of extra articles. Sign up now at MWOMag.com. That's MWOMag.com.
All right, guys, welcome back. We left off talking about social media. I saw a little video yesterday. You were with one of our creatures of the Midwest, one of my favorite people, whether you know him as Buddy or Jer. What what was your experience with some of the new styles of fishing entertainment yesterday?
Well, I have to say that was my first experience with somebody in the comedy sector, I guess, in the social media world. But I mean, it was a really good experience. I think that that kid is going places, and for him to use fishing as kind of a setting or a
Mhm.
platform is pretty cool. And I'm glad I got the opportunity to spend a few hours with him. I may have learned something from him.
Yeah, yeah. I've always we won't give too much out of the bag because it's his style of work. But I've I've met him and I've seen the character,
Yeah.
and
Yep.
it's awesome that it can be separated and how strong both are. Um,
Yep.
but it leads me to just the thing that we were kind of getting at without saying though is no matter how you enjoy the outdoors or fishing specifically,
Hmm.
I believe there is somewhere for everyone. And even if it's not fishing, if it's hiking, if it's camping, if it's
Hmm.
hunting, whatever it is. Um, yeah, what's going on right now, and we're not going to make this podcast about more than the outdoors, but what's going on right now is just a little heartbreaking. But when you turn off the news, when you turn off social media, you can say it's kind of an ignorant view, but life's pretty great. Life is
Hmm.
pretty great,
Yeah.
especially when you get out in the woods or on the water. You watch a sunrise, you see a sunset. You do it with your love, your significant other, your dad, your brother, your sister.
Hmm.
Unlike anything else.
It is. You're right, and that's like I've distanced myself from the daily, daily type news and stuff like in the
Mhm.
last few years. And number one, I'm just busy with other things, but I've just found that it's just so much better
Yeah,
not to get wrapped up in the and with social media. Like I'm to the point now with social media, like that's a big part of my business is social media, but
sure.
I have it. I just know like any of the hate, any of the fear that goes on, like, and we need to be smart enough to know that this isn't real life. Like, like you said, and for people who do get the opportunity to spend more time outside to see how the actual world should be, it just makes things so much better. And fishing is just one of those things where we can hopefully just bring more kids out to make this next generation. We saw with technology, we see it moving one way, but then if we can just combine both
Yeah.
and have people have a more positive outlook, I think that's just what we need to try to do.
Yeah. Yeah. Take a deep breath of fresh air,
Hmm.
you know.
Hmm.
And
Hmm.
I know, mass amount of people that are watching this are from the cities, Chicago,
Yep.
Milwaukee,
Yep.
Minneapolis. It's really easy to get caught up in city life too and all the concrete, But
Hmm.
guys, everyone can be an outdoorsman. I grew up and lived most of my life here in Chicago, and I try to get fishing 150 to 200 days a year.
Hmm.
Sometimes is it tough? Sure, it's a lot of people fish these bodies of water. Sometimes I gotta travel, but again, find your happiness, find
Yep.
your outdoors. Whether it's fishing, whether whatever it is, and even
Yep.
in fishing, bass, walleye, panfish, we don't discriminate.
Hmm.
Go chase some
Yeah.
tail.
Yep. I agree.
Well, Tom, if people want to check out your schooling, your social media, follow you, see the dominance you've been putting down, where do they check out some of that stuff?
So the university, Tom Wayne University, is all web based, and that is on fishthu.com. And otherwise, if you have questions for me about the university or just fishing questions in general, anything, just reach out on social media at Tom Wynn Fishing, and I'm happy to help.
Very good. Last question: are you
Yep.
related at all to Todd or no?
Not blood related, but we've basically become brothers. You know what I mean?
I
So
love
we got to meet each other. It was a little over a year ago, and So it's pretty cool to find somebody in the industry with the same last name, and at least, hey, now we talked about it, and we both agreed that it's kind of cool that people can start to pronounce our last names right. You know what I mean? Seeing us in the social media and in the publication. So,
And hey, maybe you got a place to stay up in Green Bay now.
hey, here we go. Maybe.
Well, hey, I want to thank you for joining us. And again, congratulations. It's really been prolific to watch and inspirational, honestly, too, because, you know, people think sometimes that I started late in fishing when I said I started in high school. You know, a lot of the young guns out there, a lot of pro fishermen, their dad was a big fisherman, their uncle, their
Yep.
grandfather, and they were coattailed a little bit, you know, some of them. But the truth is people are winning college national championships now. Shout out to my buddy Lou, who won it with almost no electronics and ripped up seats, ripped up carpet. You don't need to be a millionaire.
Yep.
I do recommend the technology. You know, save up, don't have some foolish spending, and maybe go out to eat a few less times a year.
Yep.
And it is affordable. And the amount that it will progress your fishing, your learning, and just make you have more fun on the water. And
Yep.
if you don't like staring at it, don't stare at it. Use it as a tool. Find the weed lines. See if there's bait around.
Yep. 100%. You're right. I agree.
So that's all I got, guys. This was our exclusive interview here with Todd and Tom. And, see, there we go. Now I'm already jumping.
Yeah.
But thank you very much for joining the show, and hope to get on the water with you one day. That'd be a fun experience.
Yeah, man, it'd be awesome. Thank you.
Well, there you guys have it. From the champ's mouth himself. You know, there's not too many people I've gotten to interact with a couple times that every single time, super outgoing, in a good mood at all times, almost seems always happy, and so willing to share what he's learned. You know, it takes so many grueling days and hours and failures on the water to learn how to succeed. And I really give it to the people who give it their all. And that's almost what you have to do to be a pro fisherman. You know, you have to give it 100%. There can't be too many distractions, and you have to put yourself in different environments, different bodies of water, different conditions to learn them all and to figure out how you can be the best angler and know different situations and how to catch them. Some of those situations Tom just brought us through were really interesting to think about. You know, self-doubt is so big, but in fishing, you got to have confidence, you got to have a game plan, and you got to stick with your gut. I think that's what it really comes down to. You know, what Tom said, we have to appreciate everything and look at the good in life. You know, fishing and the outdoors brings that in my life. I think a lot of you guys at home watching this, it's our therapy, it's our escape, you know, being on the water, being in the forest. So with it being the anniversary of 9/11 as we film this and all the chaos that's been going on lately, everyone just take a deep breath, turn off social media, watch the podcast, but then get out on the water, get out with your loved ones, your family, your friends, get in the woods and see how great it is, because there's just so much good here and we get bogged down and forget that. But that's why I love nature. It'll always bring you back to your core, and it'll bring peace to the mind. That's why I do it, and that's why I'll never stop. I want to thank you guys for joining this week on the podcast. We'll have another one, like I said, next week. We are at our end of summer run, and we are ripping out pods left and right. So thank you guys. Make sure to like, subscribe, share with your friends. We want to build this community. We want to be doing more. Make sure to follow us and like us on all our social medias. If you guys want to hear a topic or want to know more about something, DM us. Would love to talk about it. Would love to get into some different topics for sure as well. Until next time, guys, I'm Jim O'Neill. Thanks, Fish Daddy, and we will see you guys on the water. Tight lines.